Hi there, I'm Jess Nakaska, and I'm the host of CSIF's Trials and Scriptulations, and we just had our kickoff episode here, and we like to think it went pretty well. People seem to enjoy themselves. Nobody was really throwing bottles or cans at anybody except for me, and that was, a choice they made. Allison is here with us. I mean, just imagine two of us are talking, got mics, here. Allison is the script writer. Why don't you introduce yourself, Allison?
Yeah, my name's Allison Gorner. I'm a scriptwriter and author, and I submitted the script to the CSIF, and gladly it was chosen for the first podcast. So great to be here.
So you guys know I've known Allison for a few years, and I think she's a great writer. I really respect her ability. And so I've really enjoyed, kind of being the host of this and kind of seeing the process and your process, which is always interesting. So, Allison, what was kind of the kernel of the idea and what inspired you to tell this story?
Yeah, I belong to the CSIF Script Club, and we had talked about getting our scripts out and produced as a podcast. So I was trying to think of an idea where I could tell a story that could be told with voice and without a lot of reliance on filming. And I had played around with the idea of people being in close quarters, and I always liked the idea of having a story about a jury and their deliberations. But I didn't want to do 12 Angry Men. And to make it more interesting, where can they be? Well, what about a crime in space? And they're away from Earth. They're not to Mars yet. They're in this space where there's not really a law that they can deal with these crimes. And so that was the kernel of idea. So I put it on space, and that's where UNS Empyrean came from.
That's actually that's a pretty interesting idea. It kind of reminds me, if we think of something a little more earthbound, in terms of if you say you're traveling across the world, going on vacation for work, you get your travel insurance, right, to be covered. Sometimes your travel insurance will not cover the trip there. So you're right. There's kind of this really interesting kind of nebulous, opportunity in your case to kind of tell this story, right? So they're not on Mars, so Martian law doesn't apply. They're not on Earth, so Earth law doesn't apply, whatever's going on. And in the setting of your story, these four people, it's not 12 Angry Men, but it's four really engaged, intelligent people trying to, kind of solve the mystery. I guess we can give away as much or as little as you want, but what they can do with it is quite interesting and quite compelling. And was that one of the things that kind of drew you to this story?
Absolutely. I also played with the idea of what did these characters want law to be like on Mars? Okay, so this is a precedent of how are they going to treat criminals? How are they going to treat people that they have prejudice against or that they disagree with? And can they take the higher road and be compassionate? So can they set this precedent of compassion and inclusion of all different kinds of people in their new colony? And so that's something I wanted to kind of bring forth, not to be the focus, but to have an underlying motivation.
All right, if I can just get serious, kind of Kurt Loder behind the music serious. The title, the UNS Empyrean.
Empyrean.
Thank you. I found it challenging to say. Was that your intent?
It was not my intent to make it challenging, but...
Just for me, not for everybody else, just for me.
No, it was. For everyone in the cast, almost. Even though we had sent out pronunciation guides, when I'm looking for a name for the spaceship, I wanted something that felt like it was being held to high standards. And so Empyrean means heavenly or in the stars. And I actually looked at it too, and I thought, oh, it's Empyrean, like imperial, right? And it's similar, but I looked it up, and it says, oh no, correct pronunciation is Empyrean. And so that was something that was quite funny, going through cast going, what was that? Empyrean, and chanting to themselves, and UNS Empyrean. So it wasn't intentional, but maybe that's something I can look forward in the next script saying, maybe I change some wording here that can make it easier on the actors without having to have them stress about it for the whole reading.
I really like the connection to in the stars. Like I think that's actually really, really cool, and it adds another layer. So somebody listening to the podcast here can hear this, or somebody who's curious, it's just like, this is a weird looking word. Let's they search it, and they're like, oh, okay, so we're getting hit on a couple levels here.
Yes. And then UNS means United Nations Spaceship Empyrean. So in this future world, it's a UN controlled, and we've got to a point in the Earth where people need to leave. And so they're going to try to set up a healthy colony on Mars.
And for those of you who are wondering where the future holds, this may or may not be the 2030 Star Trek show, USS Empyrean. But we'll see what happens there.
We're only going to Mars, not and beyond, right? No, that's not Star Trek. That's Buzz Lightyear to infinity.
I was going to say Galaxy Quest, but no, you're right. Yeah, Buzz Lightyear. But I mean, when I think of astronauts, I think of both Tim Allen and Captain America.
Yeah.
That would be a buddy cop movie I would want to check out. If either of you are interested in Calgary-based podcasts, please let us know. So, Allison, obviously you mentioned that you work with other mediums with books and what. Can you tell me a little about that?
Sure. I have several short stories published in compilations, and I also have 2 children's picture books published through Mischievous Books. It's a press out of Ontario with the publisher and author, and the illustrator used to actually live in Calgary as well. And if you're interested in those, you can look at AllisonGorner.com, or they're also on Amazon. And I really enjoy writing for children as well. It's a different thought process. It's a different creative way of using your words, I suppose. And I find it's really similar also in some ways to writing scripts, because I rely a lot on the illustrations, a lot on visual. So I will have things in my words with illustration notes that the words don't convey, but I need to have in the illustrations. So when I do that in my script writing as well, I rely on a visual that's not come to be yet. And sometimes that's difficult, saying, okay, how does my imagination, how does this picture portray on the page? How does it portray to other people? Can they see my vision of what it's supposed to be? It's never going to be what it's supposed to be in my mind, but
I think one of the things that people enjoyed about your script was just kind of how diverse the characters themselves were. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Because this is set in the future with a government that is run by the UN, I wanted to have people from all over. And so we have an American, we have Chinese, we have Italian, Nigerian, and Albanian. Was there any other? And Indian. Yeah. Dr. Chabra is Indian. And I wanted to show that diversity because of how the world I created was. And if we sent a spaceship to Mars for a new colony, we'd want to have a diversity of people with different skills and different genetics, right? So that became a challenge for casting, though, when we have a short time frame to set this up. It's relatively short time frame compared to some other productions and film productions. We get a casting call, we send it out, and hopefully somebody responds that is that race that we specify, or can do an accent, especially if it's just a voice. But unfortunately, we had a few that, like for Radashina, who is Nigerian, no Nigerians auditioned for that role. So in keeping with that diversity, we kept that character as Nigerian, but with a Canadian accent. We're not trying to take any of those roles away from anybody. But we unfortunately just didn't have the opportunity to have those people audition for those roles. But still wanting to keep that diversity and saying that this person is from Nigeria, or like Captain DeLuca was supposed to be from Italy. And again, that was just with a straight accent. So that was a challenge in this. But I think that the actors pulled it off really well. And they had some diversity in our casting.
Okay, Allison, let's just have a little fun here in terms of what's the most recent movie you've seen?
The most recent movie I watched The Fall. So it's on Netflix, and it's about two mountain climbers, two friends, girls, who climb the tallest television antenna tower in the States.
Oh, I've seen this trailer. It actually looks pretty good. Is it good?
It was interesting. Not all of it was believable, as those kinds of stories are, but it was entertaining. It made your sweats, your palms sweat. It was different than what I expected, and it was fun. Yeah.
Okay. What movie that you haven't seen, say you've seen a trailer or a poster or whatever, what are you looking forward to in the future, whether it's near term or later this year? I'm not sure what's coming out and coming up. I'm trying to remember. Clearly, you haven't seen enough Ant-Man ads. Marvel and Disney hasn't clearly hit every channel in the world.
Yeah, Ant-Man, the Marvels are always fun. As a script writer, sometimes watching these big blockbuster movies can be challenging because they're focused on the big explosions, the big entertainment, and maybe not so much on character development, which is something that I really enjoy in my script writing. But I always enjoy going to the movie with a big tub of popcorn, and I actually bought the refillable tub in my local little theater.
Oh, nice! Yeah.
You
Support your local theater.
Yeah, bring it up and fill it up for $4 instead of $7 or $10, and I love being in the theater.
Yeah, there really is no experience quite like it, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe a sporting event, but that's also a different energy. And I wonder if this is for you, kind of post-COVID here. I remember seeing Top Gun Maverick last summer, and, it's a packed house, and, popcorn, just people. You're around lots of people, and they're there. We're excited to see kind of this fun. And I thought it was a really great movie. It was a really good sequel. Really enjoyed it. And, as soon as the the theme song music kind of starts right, as the credits roll, that energy, suddenly it's in the air and you can feel it and we're all excited. And, if it was, it would be just like you're meeting an old group of friends, you're high-fiving, hey, how's the family? What's going on? And, I love that experience. And I'd gather you too.
Absolutely. And I had that same feeling coming back from COVID, and actually it was Top Gun. And like, wow, there's so many people here and we're all together enjoying the same experience, having these emotions. I think Top Gun, the second one, did really well with building up that emotion and getting the audience to connect. And so it was like energizing to come out of there and be like, oh, we all shared this great experience together. And I hope that when they listen to the UNS Empyrean, that we can get this feeling of energy, or this, we love having Alberta actors and producers and directors and writers and all the crew, the sound, like these people here that have this talent that we can get this energy from, and let's spread it out with a worldwide audience.
Very well said. That's why you're the writer. Thank you very much. I've been here with Allison Gorner. Thank you very much, Allison, for being with us today to kick off our inaugural first time ever Trials and Scriptulation CSIF podcast.
It's my pleasure, and I hope to participate in more in the future. It was a really great time.
Thank you very much. CSIF podcasts are brought to you by the following sponsors.